we ranked our 3 winners from this game and our 3 losers from this game.
Well, let's kick it off on a positive note. Let's kick it off with a winner. How about that?
All right. So our number 3 winner from this game was Lewis Seen. Obviously, there was one play in particular that wasn't good where he kind of went in on a tackle too low. Tajee Spears jumped over him and ends up with his long touchdowns. But outside of that, we think he did have a better game than he did last week. He was all over the field and he was getting some hits. I mean, he had a couple tackles for the loss earlier on, and it was kind of impressive to see him earlier. And especially, I want to put Ivan Pace Jr. in here as well, because earlier on in the game, he also was bringing on the pressure. Like that first couple drives was big, and our defense looked pretty solid up until the second half, and it is preseason, so you are going to get backups and third strings going into the third and fourth quarter, but those guys kind of showed their energy, and they were all over the field. You can see their speed, and that was really impressive to me. What was your thoughts on Lewis Seen in this game? Because I know Lewis Seen was a guy that you were looking forward to, because he kind of had a down game last weekend, and some people were a little bit worried about what his potential is going to be now on this Vikings defense. But we do feel like you do see the speed, and we did see some bigger hits in this one and a little bit more sound tackle outside of that one play. So what's your thoughts on Lewis Seen in this?
So I said after last week, I thought Lewis Seen, I was higher on him than other people were after last week. I thought he looked pretty good. My thing was he got to the spots. He just didn't finish the play, right? But this game, we saw him finish plays, right? We last week, pad level was an issue. This week, you notice he worked on that. He got a little bit lower. He wrapped instead of just laying big hits. Had a couple nice tackles earlier on, and ended it with seven total tackles, 6 solo, 1 sack, which is huge to see for him. The one play he did cost us, probably the touchdown that lost us this game to start with. Got the pad level a little bit too low and just tried to go low on the running back. Get hurdled. And ended up scoring. But I personally did think that Lewis Seen looked a lot better this game. Finished tackles, laid some hits. I loved what I saw from Lewis Seen. I know the future is bright for this kid. Obviously, he had the issue last year with the ankle. Everything's kind of coming around there as well. Finally, we knew he needed some time on the field, and he's starting to get that now, and that's huge. And I love to see it. Lewis Seen, I thought he had a really good game. Showed me that he does have that potential. I know we got some new viewers in here. I just want to say it one more time before we keep going here. GG Sports Podcast over on YouTube. If you could help us out over there, hit the subscribe.
End of the show.
End of the show, of course. That's the last time I'll mention it. Just wanted to make sure I throw that out there.
Let me get some shout outs here. Skol195. Here's a hot take. Have Quezzy call my boy Leonardo and see if they can swap job descriptions. Draft better, man. We have no interior line help really on both sides. CB as well. Obviously, this is preseason again. We didn't have our starters out there. We don't really know how it's going to look other than cornerbacks, because obviously we have injuries with Blackman and Evans, and hopefully they didn't end up being too serious. Murphy isn't going to play his first. He's obviously CB1. And then, I don't know, we didn't see the best play out of guys like Andrew Booth, which Jackson H here, he says Booth is bad. We'll say that. Can we get one, please? Yeah. What are you talking about? A preseason win? Because it'd be nice to just have one preseason win. We need to get KOC one preseason win. That's all we need. This ain't Wolf of Wall Street, Jack. We'll see. I'm feeling good about Addison. I'm feeling good about Jordan Addison still. So I'm hoping that looks good. Blackman has looked good so far in training camp and preseason. So hopefully we see some more from him. But so far, there's some questions as far as Lewis Seen. Even if he had a solid game this game, there's still some questions about Lewis Seen. Obviously, Andrew Booth Jr. and then even Ed Ingram, his first 3 picks as a GM. Got a problem. If you don't, people eaters. Hey, what up, people eaters? We saw you last Thursday. If we don't do something about our offensive line, we have zero chance to contend against any pass rush heavy NFC teams like the Niners or Philly. And we also play the Chargers this year. They have monster duo in the Raiders without a solid duo. Dude, you are not wrong.
We'll definitely dig into the offensive line in a little bit here. So
yeah. So let's go to our first bad. In our opinions, again, this was a very positional group day. We got. Oh, that's number 3 down. Oh, forgot to change the name here, but number 3 down is wide receivers. Receivers, we just didn't see much of them at all. I think what was Jalen Reagor, this is who we have on our screen here, but he had
2 catches for 10 yards.
2 catches for 10 yards. Thompson, 3 catches for 32 yards. What we had
a lot of
receivers through this whole games.
a lot of Thayer Thompson's yards came near the end of the game from Jaren Hall when the Titans was kind of playing softer defense.
Right, right. So, I mean, we had, what, 60 yards for most of the game.
And Prohl had 2 drops, one of which would have been a first down to extend a drive. So, yeah, it just wasn't a great day for the wide receivers overall. And last week, I thought they stepped up, looked pretty good. N'Keal Harry had a nice catch. Rager had a good game, and we just didn't see that this week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a big drop-off from last time with the wide receivers. And we're going to get into another group in this later on that's in the up column that did look impressive in this area. But for now, let's see what, seen as a dog, though. I'm going to hit this chat real quick. People Eaters, I'm in here every week with the gang. Let's go, People Eaters. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see. Still searching for a viable running back behind Madison.
I don't necessarily agree.
We feel like Ty Chandler has shown enough to at least be pretty good. And we know he has hands. I want to see him in routes, though. That's one thing I'm waiting for Ty Chandler and KOC is put him in routes. We haven't seen a lot of that. I thought him coming in with even Delvin Cook last year, we would see Delvin Cook in more routes. We didn't see a lot of that. So I'm hoping we can utilize our running backs in the passing game more than we've seen in preseason as well. But yeah, I agree. Well, I don't agree. I do think we have Ty Chandler. I am excited about him. And in this game in general, we didn't see much running back, though. Ty Chandler had 11 carries for 30-something yards. 30. Ty Chandler, 24 yards, 11 carries. So he didn't have his best game, but it was a lot of has to do again with that offensive line there. So
for sure.
So we're still searching. Hall played better, but yeah, we don't have Hall in this. Yeah, Hall did play better, but not too much. He was he didn't really let anything loose. He's not letting anything loose. It's a lot of runs, a lot of screens. We haven't really seen a big down throw pass often. I'd like to see more out of Hall in that area for sure. We had a couple runs, but nothing too crazy. It's just he's playing very careful, it seems like. And I don't know if that's just how KOC is planning the offense for him for now or what, but yeah.
And then I mean, I definitely agree with Purple People Leaders comment there too. Like, we're so deep at wide receiver, like we don't need to talk about these depth guys. It's just something we did notice that last week. A lot of them did seem to take a step backwards here, and maybe who knows? Maybe Nick Mullins is like throwing tight ends better too. That could always be. But yeah, I mean, obviously with JJ, Addison, and KJ. And TJ Hawkinson, yeah, it's definitely not something. We're not concerned about the wide receiver position as a whole, just from what we saw in this game.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not as a whole. We have awesome wide receivers. Just in this game, it's wide receiver depth. I mean, they're all fighting for a spot. I mean, it might be 5th and 6th spot, but that's one. Yeah. So that's number 2. Let's go to number 2 here. Special teams.
So for anybody who watches us on GG Sports Podcast, you'll know I am a Greg Joseph believer. And he nailed all of his kicks today. Extra points, field goals, nailed them all. So if you want to start talking about special teams, you got to start with Greg Joseph. I thought he played really well.
Yeah, dude, Greg Joseph played fantastic. Like you said, 3 for 3 on his field goals. He did hit his extra point, which is the thing that us Viking fans are probably more concerned about. Yeah. But it wasn't just that. I mean, we even got the fumble. It was lucky. Don't get me wrong. It was kind of a bad punt that went backwards right into their players, but that was still a turnover at the end of the day. The new running back, Dykes, that we just brought in, looked fantastic actually in kick return, which is nice to know because we do not know what's going on with Kene. And we saw McBride in there last weekend, and it wasn't looking pretty. So I don't know. It was nice to see Dykes come in and look good on kick return. So that was good. And at
the end of the game, he got in on offense, looked pretty good too.
Yeah, and let's not forget Najee Thompson. Najee Thompson looks like a stud as a gunner. Unfortunately, I didn't get an update on his injury. At some point in the game, he got off the field with some sort of injury. We didn't see the update. Hopefully, it's not too bad because this kid, came in as like a 6th cornerback with special teams talent, and he's looking like there's a good chance that he's on this team. Obviously, I mean, if you got to dig into special teams for a preseason game, it probably shows you a lot about this game overall. But yeah.
Overall, I thought last year special teams looked pretty solid as well. And I think Matt Daniels is a fantastic special teams coordinator. That's why Kevin O'Connell brought him here. I think we're only going to see him get better. So I was impressed with what I saw for sure. I thought we got more out of the return game than we've seen in the past. I liked what I saw.
What has Ty Chandler shown? What has Ty Chandler shown? Longest run in 2 games is 9 yards.
But he's grinded out some first downs. He's gained yardage every time. That's the biggest thing with Delvin Cook. You noticed that slip last year, and
you can tell it's a blocking challenge for him. Like, he's gaining yards and he is not getting a lot of blocks. He's got to maneuver around a lot of those players, and he looks natural as a catcher. I mean, as far as a number 2, I don't know. So far, it looks like he's been pretty good. And if you put in what he did last preseason, I feel like you can say that he's been pretty solid so far. So at least we hope. But I mean, I'm not against bringing another guy in. I know we've already been bringing a bunch of depth. I know we brought Hunt in last weekend. Nothing came from that. If we did bring Hunt in, I mean, I'm game with that, because I already know he'd instantly be a instant playmaker in the passing game for us. So I would be cool with that. Sure. But Ty Chandler, I'm not too afraid. I like what I see. I do also like Chandler, Purple Eaters, but I would not be upset if we signed. Exactly. I just said all that stuff. Yeah, I totally agree with people. Eaters. Gary, to be honest, you impressed with our backups? No. So far, I'm not that impressed with our backups. I mean, the first half, we've been leading at every first half in these first 2 games. It's really the second half that has not been looking as good.
And that's when you get your, third stringers and guys that might not even be on the team when it comes to, to the final 53. So
right. Hey, people eaters, are you guys doing this for the preseason, or will continue through the regular season and playoffs? Yes, I'm super optimistic. The Lions are overhyped. Chicago. So far preseason, we haven't heard yet if we're going into the regular season, but we'll definitely let you know, man. We appreciate you in here and hitting us up on that. Hey, we got Dave in the building, man. I'm getting no sound. Oh no, Dave. Oh no, I'm hoping
your volume on, Dave.
Sound. Yeah,
your volume on.
Thoughts on O-line reserves. We're gonna get into that. Actually, I believe we're getting into that right now, and that would be down number 2 is O-line depth.
They did not look great. Nobody looked great. Penalty, and that's a big thing. Like, I'm gonna kind of lump it in with them because it was a lot of them, but the penalties could have been a down as well, because last week Kevin O'Connell said himself that was a big problem, and those did not get cleaned up this week. Still a lot of sloppy penalties, mainly on offense. And Oli Udo had a really obvious hold. Last year he came in at tackle a little bit and he looked pretty solid. We knew the guard experiment was a failure. He came in at tackle a couple games last year for Brian O'Neill and he actually looked solid. But so far in this preseason against backups, I've not been impressed with what I saw from Oli Udo. No Ed Ingram, which I thought was kind of surprising. So we got Blake Brandel in there instead. He looked better than the rest. Yeah. But still not perfect. Schlottman, I believe he might have had a penalty as well.
He fell.
And he missed the block. Fall. And it's just I don't know, the left side of the line. But Darian Lowe hasn't really shaped out yet either. So
really, this depth is kind of scary so far. And we were hoping to see some Ed Ingram in this game just because we weren't super impressed with what we saw with him last weekend. So I was hoping they'd put him back in here again. It would have been interesting to see that. But so far, O-line depth, not great. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on our quarterback, especially Jaron Hall. Every time he's in there, obviously you're getting to the third stringers and all of that stuff. But it's not good. So hopefully I'm definitely feel comfortable where we are at with tackles right now. But as far as interior goes, I think we can all agree as Viking fans that is the Achilles heel of our offense, and we probably should figure out something to do, at least get another body in there. Dalton Risner is the one that we've all heard about and talking about. It'd be nice to just go out and grab that dude right now, I think.
Absolutely. I would like to see more screens for running back speed. Absolutely. We got to see one from Kene tonight, or not Kene, sorry, from Ty Chandler, and I thought he looked pretty good. Depth at O-line and D-line is not up to snuff. Hot take, Mullins doesn't look like he was when he was with the Raiders. Yeah, Jamie did mention that when we were watching, and I kind of noticed it too, that he doesn't seem to have zip on the ball. And I noticed when he played for San Fran, he did look better. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if there's an injury thing, or maybe he's just a little nervous getting all this playing time. I don't know. Probably shouldn't be, considering he's started actual NFL games. But he's a quality backup, right? Like, he's definitely his roster spot is not in danger. I think we'll probably keep 3 quarterbacks going into the regular season. I don't see a spot where he's not here. I think he's, if he had to come in and play a couple of games, if Kirk, knock on wood, got hurt, right, I think we'd be in much better hands with Mullins than we would with Hall. So
at this point, yeah, Mullins is a pro. He's a pro, but I didn't see enough zip on the ball. He started off slow today, but he picked it up towards the end, second quarter there, and he actually looked pretty good in getting the ball up pretty quick. So, we know what we got in Mullins. It's kind of like any of our other backup quarterbacks, and so far we haven't seen enough from Hall to be like, all right, this guy has a chance to really be some sort of future for us. So we'll just keep going, man. We might.
Like I think with Hall, I thought he looked pretty comfortable in the pocket at least, and he moves around a little bit. But the classic rookie holds on to the ball a little bit too long. Doesn't make the best throws all the time, but he's got potential. Just needs to keep working. But yeah, he definitely was markedly improved from last game. Gary, thoughts on McBride? He had some nice runs today. Like actually gained some positive yardage, but still nothing major that makes me think he's going to be contributing.
He got that touchdown, but you're against third stringers all around. The game's almost over. We're losing. So I don't know. There's still a lot more we have to see in McBride. At this point, you can say it's kind of a disappointment to some extent based on the hype we got. I mean, as a 7th rounder, a guy that fell to the 7th round and everybody was hyped about him. I was hoping to see more from him, but we didn't really get that. So we'll see. I mean, we still have one preseason game. I don't think we're going to see a ton of them going into the season. There's a chance he might not even make the team at this point, but we'll see. He's still young, still has some talent. So I don't know. Hopefully, I still want to see some stuff out of him. People eaters, just got to hope the starting O-line stays healthy, and hopefully we can scoop someone last minute. Dave, everyone in the chat, make sure you follow these guys on Bleacher Report and on YouTube. We appreciate it, Dave. We appreciate it, man. Gary, thoughts on McBride? Went through that. People eater, the quarterback situation is coming. It's inevitable. Can't say it. Hand Kirk another deal, burn through old journeyman for a few seasons, or send the house for Caleb Williams or Drake May. I'm down with going into the draft and trading up. That's what I want. I want to go in the draft next season, go and grab your quarterback of the future. Even if you want to if Kirk has a really good season and you can get him on a good contract, maybe keep Kirk around for 1 or 2 more years just to let this quarterback, depending on where we pick him. I mean, if we get Drake May or Caleb Williams, we're probably we got to probably start them almost right away because that's pretty high up there. And assuming that we're going to be a playoff team, we're going to have to trade up for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyways, to our number 1 up from this game, we've got the backup tight ends. So if there is one group, I know we put wide receivers on the down. If there's a group that looked pretty good today, it was the backups tight ends with Muse and who else was it?
Colin Thompson, the guy we got from the long snapper / tight end.
Colin and Sims
that we got from
between
Carolina.
Nick Muse, 3 catches, 46 yards. Sims, 2 catches, 38 yards. And Thompson, 2 receptions for 31 yards. As a group, they had over 100 yards. And all I know for sure is if Nick Mullins has nothing but tight ends around him, I mean, he'd probably be a starter in this league for sure.
So I mean, but obviously, so this just says. And it's funny because you don't know if any of these tight ends that showed out today are even going to make the roster because we already have 3 that sound like they're shoo-ins with obviously TJ Hawkinson. You don't pay Oliver all that money if you don't plan on keeping him on the team. And then, of course, you have Johnny Munt, who hasn't suited up for any of these preseason games, which makes you think that he's a lock to make the team. Yeah. And last year, he was a solid blocker. He got it. He didn't have a lot of yards last year, but he had some key 3rd downs, caught a couple of touchdowns. I know he had, some experience with Kevin O'Connell in the past. So I think O'Connell really likes him here and trusts him within this offense. I think he said it in some press conferences as well. So I really do feel like Johnny Munt's a shoe-in to make the team as well. And then from there, you just don't, how many tight ends are you going to have? If you have a 4th one,
we are stacked.
The odds might be that maybe you try to sneak Nick Muse and Thompson on the practice squad, which I think you would be able to. Yeah. But either way, though, we know that if anybody goes down and we need one of these guys to step in, that they've looked solid, and I think they could at least step in and play a backup role. Because obviously, we have plenty of guys with NFL experience already on this roster. So
I'm going to put the poll in the chat. Who do you guys think's the biggest winners? Let us know if it's other. Let us know what you guys think if it's in other for this game as far as biggest winners go.
Gary, thoughts on penalties? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Not good. Did not get cleaned up from last week, and I'm sure once we go back and listen to Kevin O'Connell's post game, he's not going to be happy about it either.
Hey Dave, hey Casey and Jamie, where can I watch you when you're not on Bleacher Report? Of course, everybody in here, we have our own channel called GG Sports Podcast on YouTube. After this show, I'll put the link in here. If you guys can go subscribe, we'd be appreciative of that big time. But we are going to jump into our number 1 down of the game, and that is. This one's a big one. It was really bad in the second half, and we even had to use a different jersey. Our rush defense was absolutely atrocious. Ever since that one Lewisine missed that tackle and Spears went in for that big touchdown, it went downhill from there. Malik Willis with
he was 11 for 91 yards.
11 for 91 yards.
Julius Chestnut, 13 for 98 yards. And that doesn't even include Spears' 33-yard touchdown. And he was 7 for 57 yards. This defense gave up a total of 281 yards on the ground. That is
not good.
That's ridiculous. Obviously. And I mean, Malik Willis had some design runs, but when you're like, and this team practiced against these guys, so they knew what he could do. And they knew Will Levis, who I actually kind of wanted to see, wasn't going to play because of his injury. They had to put a receiver in there for a couple snaps to hand the ball off.
Yeah.
But so you should have known they were going to do this. They had design runs for Willis, and they made us look foolish on the ground. And obviously, Lewisine, we did put him in the ups. And you want to give him credit because he got to the spot, but you do got to be like, dude, you can't put your head down like that. You got to keep your head up, make that tackle. Because after that, like you said, things turned. And that run game, they just kept running right over us. And this was a problem last year, too. Stopping the run was not a strong suit. And when we mentioned earlier the D-line depth not being great, it isn't. And we don't have a lot of big, mean guys in there who are great run stoppers. So
yeah, and to go back to your Lewisine thing, that's another thing, too, is the safety. You got to be very careful to make those kind of tackles because if you miss something like that, then you have like the back of the defense is gone. You have nobody back there to spy on whoever has the ball. And that's exactly what happened here. Lewisine missed the tackle. So Spears had
defense.
Spears had wide open field to go get his touchdown. So that's something that definitely we'll have to work on. But it's so hard. I mean, at the end, it is preseason. So it's like, who knows what's going to happen when we have our whole starting lineup out there, you know?
That's the thing. Like, and people want to, we're fans. We do it. We overreact to these type of things, and you're supposed to. I mean, like you see 281 rush yards, you're a little bit concerned, right? But like you said, preseason, backups, it's okay. We're gonna be just fine.